So my producers are waving at me
Yes.
that we're almost out of time. But there is no way I'm going to let you off of this podcast without talking about AI. And I want to talk about a specific case of AI. So before we get into that,
See, Joey,
I'm shutting down.
he loves talking about AI.
Joey just thought, oh crap, I was so close. I thought we were going to get through it.
I want to talk about AI, and I'm digging in my heels with my confirmation bias. We're talking about it. There was I guess, first of all, I'd like you to tell our viewers your experience with AI in terms of how you use it in your work. And
Oh, sure. So I did an MIT certification course on it, did that. I've been doing cognition with it. I've used it for years. I use it both in legal and other stuff. I'm also the director of the Center of Excellence for Public Safety and AI under IPSID, which is the Institute of Prevention of In-Custody Death. So I lecture on it, I teach it, I work with it, because to me, I see this linkage of the human and technology. You and I had a conversation at dinner, which has occurred across all time, whether it's writing, the printing press, computers, whatever it may be. We're always in an interaction, the human and technology, in the shaping of society. So we're in that wave now. So,
as legal professionals, Joey and I are seeing more and more and more of AI creeping its way
absolutely.
into the courtroom, into the pretrial process, being utilized by attorneys in day-to-day stuff for everything from motion drafting to creating mitigation documents and reports. But there are some areas where I think it's crept in to a pretty disturbing degree. And one of them comes right here from Maricopa County at a recent high-profile sentencing. And maybe just to force Joey to be involved in this conversation, I'll make him tell the story.
This is one that would, in the words of the younger generation, would really trigger me. So we had a case here in Maricopa County that unfortunately involved a death. One person caused the death of another person. Case went to trial. Then the defendant was being sentenced by the judge. Okay. And the family members of the deceased victim came in and said, we want to put on a video, which is not uncommon, only this time the video was an AI-generated statement from the deceased.
Right.
Of course, this made national news. You've probably seen the video. It was the most disturbing thing that I've seen. I'm talking about from a legal perspective. Right. I was unbelievably disappointed that the judge allowed that in. And my response to Andy was, well, why not? Let's have a seance. Let's dim the lights. Let's have a seance and ask the spirits to tell us what the deceased victim would have to say. And again, I'm not in any way downplaying the fact that the family obviously had a huge loss. This person, was killed. Unfortunately, he was convicted by a jury. I'm sure that's up on appeal. But this aspect of putting on something that was completely fake, it was just the most startling legal development I had ever seen, and it further increased my opposition to AI in the legal industry.
And the outcome was the judge said it had made a huge impact on the court's decision.
Yes.
And then ended up sentencing the defendant to a higher recommendation from the prosecutor or probation.
Yeah.
So clearly made an impact in the decision. And will certainly be an interesting source of a post-conviction relief petition, I'm guessing, that will be filed to try to get the thing resentenced.
Yeah, it's going up on direct appeal. So I anticipate, hopefully, the Court of Appeals here in Arizona straightening this issue out. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so I can tell you what I do know of is that the American Bar Association, the ABA, and the National Association for Criminal Defense Lawyers, NACDL, are both working on this idea of AI. Now, it's interesting, opposed to AI. I remember someone saying, I'm now the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, we've encountered technology that has amazing potential to cause harm, the atomic bomb, right? But the fact is, at some point, the question is, can we trust the human to use it? And maybe we get to that point where we can't. But if they are already using it, maybe we can help them use it a little bit more ethically, responsibly. One of the credos that we work on, for example, in the stuff I work on for public safety, is the responsible adoption. What does that mean? You have out, as I was working with Craig, on your 6th bullet, we seek understanding and empathy. It's actually on your placard as I walk in. Can AI do that yet? So the fact is, what does it look like when we try to do this together responsibly? Because what you're citing for, and I completely agree with, is the irresponsible use of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, there will be some point, and this is what they refer to as the Pandora box problem, is there something that is so potentially damaging that you won't be able to go back. Now, I don't know if we're there yet. I mean, I would argue we're probably not. But what I'm getting at is my concern is the operator of the tool.
Yes.
And a greater concern than that. So this, you and I were having this conversation last night. Become a better thinker. Seek to, you go to the gym every day, you do this or anything else, you do stuff, you read Blink or List so you can basically summarize a book in Cliff Notes. You have greater memory. You have this kind of stuff. You do these little quizzes so your memory doesn't. When's the last time you invested 30 minutes a day in making yourself a better thinker? Because that's going to be the differentiator with the use of AI. I don't care whether it's legal field or anything.
Let's do some thinking here about this high-profile example in Maricopa County, because there's a few really, I think, interesting issues going on. So the first is that the family of the deceased, a grieving family, are the authors of this AI abomination, maybe we can call it. But what does that mean? That means all of their bias, all of their confirmation biases, all of their subjective experiences and opinions are what's being reflected in the AI-generated deceased. But dubiously, it creates an illusion because you are looking at, I mean, the human brain can't help but draw judgments and make biases when you're looking at the deceased saying the words that were scripted for it by the grieving family.
It goes right back to Dr. Black's statement previously about how much of the communication that we do visually. Mm-hmm. And that's why, to me, that video was so perverse. It would be one thing for the family members to get up and say, well, this is how I think he would have felt. Okay, you can get up and give your opinion. But to put on something to say, this is what the deceased felt, and this is what he would say.
You're about to hear from him, from beyond the grave. He's going to tell you his opinion. Right. But just so people can wrap their head around the legality of this, when it comes to a sentencing, judges have much more leeway in terms of what they're allowed to consider. There's pretty much no limits to what a judge can consider at a sentencing. The judge can consider whatever the judge thinks is appropriate to consider. And if there's something that is objectionable to either party, you raise an objection and the judge will assess it. Now, the judge certainly was in his legal right to consider this video, but to give it weight is a different issue because you got to keep in mind, at a sentencing hearing, and Joey and I have done many cases involving a deceased victim, and the families come in, and it's an experience. Those sentencing hearings are very, very heavy. Oftentimes, the courtroom is packed with people who miss their relative, understandably, and it's a grieving experience. There's an amount of coping experience there is to walking up to the podium, crying, and expressing to the court what you think justice would look like in this case. And had the judge treated this AI-generated video as part of that coping experience and as part of basically, sympathetic to the family, they're going through a really tough thing, and it really helps them in terms of their closure to express this with this AI video, that would be one thing. But to give it legal weight as if it reflected what was actually being said by the deceased victim is a huge misstep that, to take a term that you used earlier in a different context, seems like a Pandora's box to me. If that's open up to the victims, it certainly should be open up to my client, to the defendant. Right. So why don't I make a video of maybe the deceased's father or something like that? Judge, this is, what I expect the family of the deceased. They're actually going to forgive. You're going to see this video. They're going to forgive my guy. Let me bring in I'll bring in Benjamin Franklin, by the way. This is, I've done some AI models, and this is what I predict Benjamin Franklin would say about my client's conduct. And you're going to see he's got some very good things to say about my client. There seems no limit. We could bring in AI Jesus to forgive him on the record.
And this is where, to me, I know in the legal profession we often talk about a slippery slope, but we also talk about bright lines. Right. And to me, this is a bright line. There's no world in which that should be allowed. And I don't want to give the wrong impression. It's not that I am opposed to the computer programming. I'm opposed to the language that we use about it because it it misleads us. When we call it artificial intelligence, no, it's a computer program. It's a bunch of ones and zeros. That's all it is. It doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have sympathy. It doesn't have foresight. I'm much more comfortable with the description of a large language model, because really that's all it's doing. It's taking language and it's trying to predict what the next word is going to be based on all the words that it's read before.
Right.
Thank you guys very much for tuning in today with our guest, Dr. John Black. We thought it was a fascinating conversation. Really enjoyed having you in the office for the last couple of days and picking your brain and expertise on all these cases. So thank you for being on the podcast, my friend.
Pleasure was entirely mine. I thoroughly enjoyed all the stuff. Everything starts with a question. Question gets a conversation. That's how it always starts.
Yes, sir.
So, and the other thing, too, is keep doing what you guys are doing. Please.
We enjoy it too much to stop.
Yeah, you guys are too philosophical. I just want to open the damn box and put the cat out of its misery.
This has been attorneys Andy Marcantel and Joey Hamby from the Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm. Go and check out attorneysonretainer.us to learn all about our self-defense program and what it can do for you. Check out attorneysforfreedom.com to learn all about our law firm and how we defend people in the criminal justice system. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like down below, leave us a comment, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this has been Andy Marcantel, Joey Hamby, and our new friend, Dr. John Black, signing out. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.